So I'm sure you have incredible questions, incredible insights, and will be so interested in continuing the stories of these four kids as they move forward. And so again, with the NLA study group, we'll be able to hear a little bit more because let's just say Zoe's mom checks in and tells us new stories. Sadie's mom checks in and tells us new stories. And Michelle herself checks in and tells stories. And as you know, if you're not a part of Alex's Instagram group, you need to be there. All right. So the next treat is going to be Sadie's amazing mom introducing the amazing Dr. Elizabeth Torres. So Dr. Torres is a professor at Rutgers, and she's also the principal investigator in the NJACE. And her neuroscience is of a different ilk. It's not anything like what you used to hear about in all the courses we ever took our whole careers. She is cutting edge in a way that I can't even describe. She's really the only person I talk about other than kids and clinicians, honestly. So you'll get to hear her describing the value of relationship-based intervention. And you will come away from this never questioning yourself again.
So, Liz, could you tell us from the nervous system perspective, what is the importance of children's nervous systems being able to explore and learn unprompted on their own? And how do the self-generated motions help them to learn about the world?
Yeah, certainly there are a number of elements there that are very important from the moment the baby is born, and that is a spontaneous. So when the baby is born, you have a spontaneous variations in their motions that they're sensing. This is in the precognitive stage. Just the baby is growing at a very accelerated rate. It grows by the day. And inside the body, the nervous system is developing as well. The nerves are growing and forming networks and connections. And all of that exploratory, at first it's spontaneous, but as the baby develops, vision and auditory systems settle in, and external stimuli begins to shape the emotions. They're no longer spontaneous in nature. They actually follow patterns that are acquired based on those variations of the external world. And they then become exploratory in the sense that the baby then has goals, that internal goals and external goals that need to match. And the movements become then eventually systematic, eventually predictive, eventually intentional, because there is a goal that the baby knows. But that self-discovery of the goal, for that to happen, it has to be spontaneous. It has to be self-emergent. So at that stage, when there is no, the cognitive framework is not yet in place. It's in the precognitive era. The baby is sensing a lot based on what the environment is offering and based on what his body is responding to that environmental cues, and eventually becomes organized and well coordinated and so on. So if that is not in place, it's a bit problematic for that brain to receive the feedback that comes from its own self-generated motions. And that's where prompting could be, if it's much too early, if it's a bit too early, it could be an interference with the natural process of self-discovering and exploration. And so you see babies and you watch them acquire certain motions that are well coordinated, and and that are reproducible when you bring them from one environment into another environment. So they generalize across contexts because the baby self-discover them. Something that you prompt and you condition a baby to do based on what you expect the baby to do, it's not self-discovered. So it will have to have exactly the same environment for it to be reproducible in a different context. And that's not how we work. We work on the self-emergence phenomena. And so that's why naturally we don't have to reinvent the wheel. We can reproduce the same kind of movements, the same kind of actions that we need in the kitchen to perform the same movement in the bedroom. We don't have to have the kitchen set up around us exactly so that when we go to the bedroom, because that would not be a bedroom, right? And that would be a kitchen, right? And so that's how we get there through that self-exploration and through that self-emergence of behavior. At some point, when the body and the brain are communicating well, and there is an infrastructure in the nervous system, the body and the brain is ready for instruction. And that's why it takes us some time, all the way to 4 to 5 years of age, to begin school instruction and begin, sit down and receive instruction. But that's under a neurotypical development. So what we should be mindful of is that when the development is atypical, when the neural motor control is not there yet, it has not reached the maturation that it needs, you need to continue to let that child on the exploratory path, on the self-discovery path, before you intervene, instructing that child to do X, Y, or Z. Because what happens is that brings stress to the nervous system. Naturally, the nervous system will reflexively react to that. And there's nothing you can do about it. It's just the biology. So what you need to do is take advantage of the years that the system is still self-discovering, still exploring that phase, and build that infrastructures to scaffold the system so that it's ready to receive cognitive instruction, is ready to actually now benefit from other prompt-based instructions or learning systems.